And today we have Penny Kidd. Hi, Penny.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good, good. Where are you located, Penny?
I'm in Colorado where it's quite cold today. So
Oh, lucky you. Where in Colorado?
I live in Loveland, Colorado, which is about an hour north of Denver. So just in northern Colorado near Fort Collins. So a lot of people know Fort Collins, but they don't know Loveland. But yeah, no snow today, but certainly cold. So
Ski? Can you ski over there? Where you at?
not near my house. That would be more west of Denver. So there is a place called Ski Loveland. So they get us confused all the time, but I don't live near there. So
Well, I love Colorado. It's a great place to hike, great place to ski,
yeah.
and great people too. My husband's from Colorado, so
Really? Okay. So you've been here a little bit. Yeah.
yes. Now, Penny Kidd, today we're talking about how to make your money behave, which is a tough one for us as a real estate agent. The word behave, it's a kind of tough word for us to use. And one thing I like it when I review what we're talking about today is I know for me as a real estate agent, when I hear the word like financial advisor, I'm always like, nah, I'm scared. They're going to take my money. That's my first like feeling like someone's going to take my money away. I don't have a good connection when I have the word financial advisor, maybe of lack of knowledge, but when someone investing my money, I'm always scared. But I really enjoy to see the word coach, which I never think about. You being a financial coach, can you define exactly what's the description of a financial coach for everyone?
You bet. So yeah, I am not a financial advisor. And so I don't take your money. I help you take control of your own money. So it's a little bit education, it's a little bit counseling, it's a lot of accountability, and just putting in place systems that I know work from my personal experience, having kind of gone down that journey and helping you get in touch with kind of the emotional part around money and the I want it and I deserve it and those kind of feelings of okay, well you should be able to have a fair amount of that, but do you have it at the expense of like long-term plans? And so how do you balance like today's world and today's money with your future? And so that's where, and then I partner with advisors that can help you grow the money and protect it and those kind of things. But I'm more on the ground, in your daily business, helping you take control of your money.
And I love that because we are sometimes very emotional or think we're entitled. And because we make that much, we spend that much when it should not be like that. And there is way to control it, but we need to take like probably daily action. Mm-hmm. And it's good to find someone where you can talk to and they can give you the map of being more successful financially, because I believe it's possible. It doesn't matter if you make $10,000 a year or $100,000 a year. I see some people they're making $300,000 a year. They broke.
Exactly.
We have people who make like $20,000 a year. They're able to save money.
Right. That's what I see too. That it's not really about what you make; it's about what you keep. Right. And we can all spend every dime that we make, and you can look back and go, okay, when I was young and I thought if I only made X number of dollars, I'll be fine. And then you hit that goal, and then it's the target keeps moving, so to speak. And so it's really not an income problem. It's across the board that most Americans are not really planning their money or looking far enough into the future to make sure that they have enough to last in those years that they don't work. And so, but you have to start today in order to accumulate enough, to maybe live 20, 30 years in retirement when you're not working.
And I think with us, like salespeople, we're probably the worst because we know how to make money. Yeah. So we're always like, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll just make money. We just make money. We know how to make money, right?
Yep.
But we wake up one day thinking we're going to make that big chunk of money, that big jackpot. And you wake up, you're like 40 or 50, like, oh, shoot, I thought I was going to make that huge money, but here I am with 3 kids and took care of them, and I don't have anything safe.
Right. It's feast or famine a lot too for people in sales. You don't necessarily have a regular paycheck. So that was, kind of one of the things I thought we could talk about today was how to be smart, be wise with your money when you have an irregular check, because it's one thing to do a budget and to have a plan when you know exactly what's coming in. It's very different when you are self-employed or you're commission based or something like that, that you don't know exactly what your check's going to be.
Now, when you say make your money behave, can you tell our audience what do you mean by that?
So my background is actually in social work. So I didn't cut my teeth in finance. So I really think that money is more about behavior than it is math. If it were just math, we could all probably be wealthy, but it's more about the day-to-day behavior around our money and what do we need to do in order to get control of that instead of being controlled by our money. So, my personal journey includes getting out of debt. I have no debt anymore, including my mortgage. And I'm about to graduate my second son from college without any student loans. And so, just kind of walking the walk and learning how to make what we have, do what we want it to do instead of just life happening to us. Right. And that's what I mean by behave.
So now, what made you decide to make your money behave? Something happened in your life that you said, you know what, I'm going to get into financial coaching, probably your own experience, your personal experience, I'm assuming.
Yep. Yeah. So I think about 14 years ago now, 13 years ago, one of my friends, I was working in child protection. I spent almost 30 years as a child protection caseworker. And, social workers notoriously do not make a lot of money. And she came to me and said, hey, you seem really good with your money. Will you help me? Because I'm just living paycheck to paycheck and we never have enough at the end of the month. And I didn't think I was really particularly good with my money, but I balanced my checkbook and I paid my bills. And she said, well, that's more than I'm doing. So come help me. So we sat at her kitchen table and just said, how much do you owe for this? And how much do you give the kids for that? And, what do you pay on this one? And most of the answers were, I don't know. And, she just paid what came in and tried to keep things afloat, but really had no system in place. And so it was at that time that I said, hey, we could be accountability buddies. And I think we could do this together. So, I had heard about a guy named Dave Ramsey on the radio, had a book. And I said, let's read his book. He seems to have a plan at least. And so she said, I don't have time for a book. If it's not Goodnight Moon, it's not happening in my house right now. Working 40, 50 hours a week plus raising 4 kids, just there didn't seem to be time. So I said, well, okay, I'm interested in this. And I would like somebody I can feel that I can trust to talk about my stuff. Because after driving home that night, I realized, I was a little cocky because, wow, she's got $40,000 worth of debt. And then I realized when I got home, I had almost $30,000. And that was just consumer debt, and I was like, okay, I'm not really any better than she is. We need to get this under control. And she and I started, and we worked together, I think 2 months, just barely turning the needle twice maybe. And unfortunately, she was hit and killed by a drunk driver. And it just rocked my world. And I went home to my husband and said, we have to get our act together. Because not only was she killed, her husband was in the car and he suffered a traumatic brain injury and was in and out of comas and rehab. And I don't think he ever really did go back to a full-time job. And it just made me realize that you never know what day you have, left to kind of get things in order. And so it was a slow start for us. I definitely was the first one to kind of jump in. And eventually, probably a couple of years later, my husband got on board. And that's when we really started making some traction towards, paying off debt and living within our means and saying, what's our greater plan? How do we have enough margin in our life to do what matters to us, which one of the probably last big discussions we had was whether we pay for college or not, and I didn't feel like we could. I just didn't see there was any way possible. And we did. We managed to make that happen because of choices we had and things we expected of our kids. And it's just been so much more peaceful, and life isn't like living chaos to chaos. You start thinking ahead of things that are going to happen, and I need tires on my car and the washer's about to go out, or instead of waiting for the crisis to happen. When you have
what are the 3 most important things? So let's say I'm ready and I'm someone who wants to change the way I behave with my money. What would be some of the important factors I have to have or to do when I started, when you started?
So I think the three things that I think are most important is, first of all, to be aware of your stuff. Most of us are just going through life with no clue on how much we're spending on things, where we're spending it, what the interest rate is, what the balance is on debts, and maybe not even really having much education around how interest works or why you would do things differently. So being aware, I think, is number one, and just getting things organized and in one place, right? And that I have a real passion for making sure that both parties in a couple are able to execute the plan. Very often one handles the money and the other doesn't, and they don't know, and they just rely on that. And
well, I think with you, but I have a question on that. So if the wife, let's say you have a regular couple, the wife is ready and she wants to make the change, but the husband is not, that's not going to work, right? Because the husband is still spending the money while the wife is trying to change. So in a couple, one of the key factors, you probably need both to
at least at some level
to make a change.
Yeah, I think at some level that's true. And that's where my background in counseling and mediation has come in really handy, because it's a give and take process, but you both at least want to be on the same page about, we need to be better at this because X. We want to travel more, we want to buy properties, or we want to make sure we can retire someday, or live with, not having the stress of wondering if things are going to get paid. And so for my clients, I need both to at least be somewhat engaged. They have to come together and we work on it together. Then the how becomes the negotiation part, like the give and take in a relationship. It's not all one way. And so helping them come up with ways and who's going to do which piece, but they're still sort of on the same team. When you have really separate values or beliefs, I probably can't help them either, because they both have to have some willingness to come to the table, some reason to want to change, right? So
now, what are something that people forget to plan for, which causes their money to misbehave?
Irregular things that happen, we mostly know our bills. Most people could tell you what their rent or mortgage is. They could tell you what their utility or cell phone bill is. They don't know usually grocery bill. They just whip out their card every time they need groceries, right? And then there are things that happen once or twice or 4 times a year that people forget. That's part of your annual budget. So Christmas is a great one. We just passed the holiday season, and a holiday in December that costs more than typical month, it really helps to start planning in January for next December. Because if you're going to spend it, what's the amount going to be? You put a boundary on it and say, okay, let's set aside this much every month or every paycheck so that we can have that money next year, instead of chasing a credit card bill until April or whatever. So car expenses are a big one that people forget, that your license plates only come due once a year typically. And so, but they can be a chunk of change. And so all of a sudden, I don't know what it's like in California, but in Colorado, we get the little card in the mail that says, hey, you got a month to pay, sometimes 2, 3, 4 up hundreds of dollars, right? So it's a whole lot easier if you can find those things that are irregular expenses and set some money aside on a regular basis, the little behavioral kind of things, and then pull the money out and pay them. Versus, man, where are we going to come up with $500 this month? Because I totally forgot. Where it's not really a crisis. It should have been a known expense. We just don't plan for them. So,
even like putting a budget, like December, I know people go crazy. They get credit card, even for Valentine's, like they get credit cards to buy a ring, a necklace, or
and just
why? To budget, but guess what? People love you no matter what. You don't have to spend $500 to impress someone. That's my philosophy.
We all have our different values. So if that's your value, if you want a $500 ring, great. That's not my value either. I'd rather travel with my $500, right? But everybody has their own thing. And I don't think it's my place to tell them how to spend money. I just try to help them think about it and be intentional. So that's the second thing. So being aware and then being really intentional with what you're going to do with your money so that it aligns with your values and your beliefs, and having a plan and a monthly budget. I think the one thing people fail to do is realize that budgets are a living document, right? They're not a one-time, okay, I did that in January, it's supposed to last all year. I budget by the month and sometimes even by the check, because your life changes that quickly, right? Your kids grow and they need shoes, or you have a wedding to go to, or your mother is sick, or whatever. I mean, you need to be able to change your budget with your life. And so that's one of the things I teach my people, is how to do that and how to start thinking ahead about everything from a haircut to a trip to Tahiti, right? So just being really intentional, I think, is the second part.
So even the grocery store, do you go to the grocery store already knowing that, hey, this is my budget for the weekend and I need to respect that?
Right. And I actually help people spend cash again, which people at first think, oh, I don't use cash. It is a clear boundary. When you look in your cash envelope and there's no money there, I better go home and eat leftovers, right? Instead of going out to eat, or your Starbucks habit, or whatever it is. I'm okay with you putting money in that, but just have a boundary and stop when it's gone. And you were thoughtful when you did your budget instead of reactive because something felt good when it came up. Like, oh, that looks yummy, let's go do that. Well, I don't care where you spend the dollars, but you need to have a finite amount, because you can always, like you said, you guys may be really great at making money, but there's still usually a limit to it at some point in time, right?
This month, restaurant, it's like $50 minimum with our family. I mean,
right. And when we first started budgeting, and I cannot believe this is true, but I'm pretty sure that we were spending $600 to $800 a month in eating out, and we didn't make that much money, right? And so then of course you feel like, well, there's no room to do whatever, and I can't pay off my debt. Well, there's a place right there we could cut. We didn't do it extreme. And so a lot of times when people hear that I started with Dave Ramsey, I'm not as extreme as Dave Ramsey is. I really find a lot of margin in life. And I think that you have to make what works for you.
Yeah.
And there's many things I don't agree with him. And so I've found more and more with my business, which is called Pennywise Coaching, is, Pennywise is gray. Dave Ramsey can be black and white, but I really work with people on an individual basis so that it can be theirs, not mine, right? It's not even my rules. It just needs to be something I can teach them what has worked for me and with others, but at the end of the day, they have to make it work for themselves.
And I like how you express it. You adapting yourself to the person, because like you said, everyone has a different view and view of managing their money, and we just need to adapt to that. Now, what do you think are some of the most important things we can do to sustain a good relationship with our money?
Oh, that's a good question. I think paying attention to it and treating it right and respecting it. I have had clients who, open up their purse and there's wadded up dollar bills in there, and they don't really know how much they have, and it's just kind of a hot mess. And whether it's their checkbook or their wallet, I think if we're not respectful of money, we're not going to probably get more. I really think there's a universal truth to that. And I think just, appreciating what you have and being thoughtful about today and tomorrow. And I also believe in giving some along the way, and not being so stingy that you can't bless others with your time or talents or your money, that, being a little bit respectful that, it will come back to you is huge.
And like you said, awareness, like every time you take that card out or you make a decision, is it worth it? Is that the right move? Is it going to affect my family?
Yeah.
How is it going to affect us in the long run?
Well, and that's another reason that I use cash for some things, not everything. Obviously, many of us love to shop on Amazon. You can't do that with cash, right? But you can set up your plan so that so you can say, okay, how much am I willing to spend this month or this paycheck of this money, how much can I afford? You cover your needs first and then your wants, right? You make sure there's a roof over your head and food on your table and, the right insurances and things to protect you. And then what's left, then you can be a little more free about, okay, I'm willing to spend this much and put this much towards my debt. But using cash feels different than debit or credit, because I really believe our brains are not wired to retain all the numbers. I mean, what phone number do any of us even remember anymore, right? And all the things that we're bombarded with every day, you don't retain where you spend money when you swipe your card. Like even the next day, sometimes I'll feel like, I don't even know where, or I look at the statement. I'm like, do you remember buying such and such? But if you spend cash, you go out to dinner and it's $100 dinner and you put $100 bill on the table, you remember, ooh, wow, that was kind of spendy, or $50 or whatever. It feels different. We more want to keep cash. And people have said that, I don't like to spend cash. I said, that's the whole point, is I want you to think twice about, is this thing, this experience worth that attachment to that money?
It's a way to avoid reality when you use the card. Because it's a way to avoid the reality.
Reality, you bet.
With the reality when you use a card, because you don't know, it's just a number. It's not affecting you in a moment. It's going to affect you later. And that's why we're doing it. It's like, I'm putting my card, it's not emotionally affecting me right now. It's going to affect me when I get the statement. But right now, I'm happy because I have that new toy.
It's
I'm okay with it.
Right. Instant gratification, right? That we all want. Yeah. And that purse is really great today, but not when I get the statement next month.
And I'm going to look great when I'm going to have that purse and everyone's going to see me. But at the end of the day, when I get the bill, it's going to be a totally different feeling, but it's too late.
Right. Yep.
Now, you're running some special promotion for the audience as a financial coach. Now, I have a couple of questions. When you go to a financial coach, do you think after like 90 days, your emotional, your connection with your relationship with the money will change? Because like life coaching and all these things, I think it takes minimum 90 days to get like a routine and to get new behavior. So do you think if you do get a financial coach for 90 days, after that, you can say, okay, now I understand, I've changed and I can be on my own? What's your opinion on that?
So I used to do 90 days and now I do 6 months, because I found that about the 90-day mark, we were just there's so much to do at first for most people, especially if they've not really been budgeting, and or you're combining, relationship stuff in there, whether you're single or in a committed relationship. There's different nuances about, it's hard when you're single because you don't have anybody to talk to about it, but you don't also have anybody to hold you accountable. You can do whatever you want. When it's a couple, you're trying to merge two opinions. So just getting people organized and having a budget. So I create a custom budget that they can use for life, but it's theirs and based on their paychecks and their income and stuff like that. And that also helps them deal with the feast or famine kind of thing. Like we create the minimums and then we say, okay, great, I had a sale. And so I'm going to get this big, $10,000 or whatever. Where's it going to go? So I have found that it's more around the 5th or 6th month where I really start seeing sustainable change. At first they're just following me and letting me guide them and say, here's what I would do. And then pretty soon the transition is, well, what would you do? And how does that feel? And what are you getting out of that experience of, you have some money in the bank finally, or you've reduced your debt by thousands of dollars while we've worked together. And how did it feel when you didn't buy that purse or whatever? So we talk a lot about the emotions as well as create the concrete systems to do it every month. And I really hold my people's hand. I go with them on it. I don't just say, go, do this. And it's like reading a book or something. I'm going to walk through the nitty gritty, and I'm on speed dial for my people, which I think makes me a little different than maybe an attorney or a therapist or something. They call me or text me at all kinds of times of day and night, and be able to say, I'm here for you because I want you to win with this. So don't fall down and then not call me. Call me before when you're tripping, so that I can help you make a decision. We might still have to do the same thing you were going to do, but at least you got two heads to figure it out. So I do 60 days at least. And then some of my people choose to stay on a monthly accountability. Like, I just want to talk to you about different things as we go. They might be working on credit, or they might be looking at insurance or investing or things like that I can help them address or connect them with the right people. So I'm more than just a budget coach. I really love to connect people with all kinds of resources, including things like realtors or mortgage lenders or financial planners and people that are kind of the sphere of influence around money, but aren't in the weeds like I am.
And I think it's a tough step for us salespeople. It's to say, okay, taking the step to talking to someone and opening a book, and you feel like probably a lot of salespeople feel like, oh, I'm ashamed because I make so much money, and she's going to see that, wow, I don't have anything.
Yeah.
So you have a little proud factor and ego factor, but I think it's okay. You got to take that step because it's going to make a better future for you and your family. Period.
Well, and people find really quickly that I have a lot of grace in the process. And I think it's having worked with people that were drug addicts and sex offenders for 30 years, really. So when I meet with them, I'm like, it's
the
money.
Financial is like easy.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just money. Okay, so yeah, be embarrassed, whatever. Let's get over it. I'm not picking on you, and I'm not appalled. You would be amazed at the things I have seen, both in money world and in social work world. And we're all human beings trying to make this happen. And I don't pretend to be perfect. I feel like every day I get up and just much like recovery, I think, okay, today I'm gonna try to be smart with my money. You don't just kind of do it and you're done forever and ever. It gets easier, but it's an everyday battle, like nutrition or exercise or whatever. You have to sustain it so that you win for the long haul. It's the everyday behaviors. And so I really am not a judgmental person. I just feel like, okay, and I mean, there's times that it surprises me when somebody does something that I totally wouldn't have done. But at the same time, it's like, your money, not mine. So if they say, oh, you're going to be mad at me because I did X, I'm like, did you spend my money? No. No. I'm good. That's your money, So I think once people realize they have the power, it's not me. I'm a guide and a support system. I'm not here to blame and shame them.
Oh, I think we need a button on like the card. So when you start have a couple glass of wine, the card stop because you might not make the right decision after a couple glass of wine, and you might spend more. And you might say, Jessica, why did you do that? Well, I had a couple glass of wine.
That's right.
The emotion kicked in.
Yeah. And I remember a time not too many years ago. I don't know. I don't think I was coaching yet, but I came home and I told my husband I had gotten a credit card at Sam's Club. And he said, I thought we weren't doing that anymore. We were not using credit. And I said, oh, I was tired and hungry, and they made it sound like it was going to save me all this money. And I just wanted to get out of there. So I, signed up for the card, and now I use credit judiciously. I'm not an anti-credit card person. I just think it's a little bit of a slippery slope. So it depends on you and your situation, right? And yet I think it can be managed in a healthy way, but you have to know yourself and your situation. And so, yeah. So and I'd fall down. Then I went down and cut up that credit card. I'm like, you're right. That's not what my goal was. I'm trying to get out of credit card debt, not pick up more, so yeah, we all fall down. You get back up, right? You just have to keep going.
There's always tomorrow. There's always another chance. There's many days in the year, not just January.
Right. Well, and I'm thrilled to be talking to your influence, all your realtors and those kind of folks, because it might apply to you, it might not, but it also might be really helpful for your clients. The people that are wanting to buy houses and wanting to better themselves, but they seem like they're in that rat race. I can't get ahead. How am I ever going to do this? And so I focus a little bit on credit. I wouldn't say I'm an expert at credit, but I know enough to probably help people improve their stuff so that they can get long-term stability, and really make traction. Because like we said earlier, it doesn't matter what you make, you can spend every dime of it. And I have worked with, believe it or not, financial planners and CPAs and doctors and lawyers, and we all have the same stuff, and baggage. And a lot of what I do now is,
and you're right, how many deals we can't close because of some of the money behavior that our clients have.
Right. So sometimes I'll get a referral and they'll say, you're not in a place to buy a house right now. Go get this cleaned up and come back in 6 months or a year. And I love that, because then those people are motivated, right? They're like, I want this house and I'm willing to do what it takes, but I just don't know how to do it. And so I've worked with people darn near in poverty and people that are very quite wealthy. And what I have found is that they're all pretty much the same,
It's the same.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
It's funny because I went to a couple of Dave Ramsey's convention, and I remember him saying something like, it's funny how someone is going to make $50,000 and they're going to spend $50,000. If they lose their job and they make $20,000, for some reason they're able to have to live the same way with $20,000. Why they didn't do it when they were making $50,000?
exactly.
We adapt from
Yep.
50 to 20 without any problem.
Yeah.
Why we don't do that when we have $50,000? Pay more attention to what we're doing.
Well, there's something about human nature that makes us think we're always going to have what we have, whether it's our health or our money, and yet, like we're seeing with, these government shutdowns and things like that, the crisis that missing a paycheck or two is causing across America. And because there's no savings, I posted a thing on my Pennywise page yesterday about an article saying this just highlights the fact that Americans are not saving for the future, that one missed paycheck is causing huge crisis. We're not talking 3 months and 6 months, which is what most people
No.
One paycheck. Yeah. This is scary. And so it should be a wake-up call to all of us to remember that we're all one paycheck away. There's most of us, self-employed, I guess you have a little bit of more control about, like you said, you can go make money. But the economy, we rode through 2008, and we've gone through situations where we shouldn't be surprised that things can happen that are going to derail the plan. And so we got to do everything we can today to live within.
For me, when I was a top producer, I used to sell thousands of property, and I have great months, but I also have very, very bad months, because when you have like huge overhead, what do? When you're a top producer and you used to spend 10K or 20K every month on marketing, and you're having a bad month and you got to keep the machine going, what do?
Right.
You take a credit card, you find a way to get a personal loan, and you're in debt.
Yeah.
And you have a good month. You're like, okay, now I'm having a good month, but I'm going to make the minimum payment so I can enjoy the good month.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the people I work with now, which I'm not quite sure how this happened, but I have a fair number of people that are business owners and that have that kind of, and it's always a little surprising to me how people can be in business for a fairly long period of time and have their money all commingled and not have separate accounts for their business and their personal, and they don't know what to pay themselves. And I spend every dime so I could market, but I don't have any money for groceries. And so I had to put the groceries on the credit card. And so I help that person as well. Like, okay, let's start focusing on, we usually start focusing on what's the personal nut that you need, but then also it trickles over into the business side. Because I find with small business owners, now I've never worked with anybody like a relatively big size company, but when they're, 1 or 2 employees kind of thing, you're the boss and the employee, I can help you tease that out, just because I've done some great, I've learned a lot being a self-employed person for 3 years, because I left my job 3 years ago at the county. And that was scary to walk away from a known job with benefits to say, I think I want to do this coaching thing. I wonder if I can make a living doing that.
Yeah.
But when you don't have any debt, you have a lot of freedom. And you can say, okay, I think we can pay the utilities and, live on his income for a little while. And we still managed to pay college. It's amazing to me what we've done in years that we shouldn't have been able to afford it, right? Because you have a plan.
You have a plan, and you're not in survival mode. So if you lose a job or you lose that, you prepare. You might have a month or 2 of income, enough income to pay enough money that you've been saving to pay your bills, so you can, you can shoot for a better future for you. You can take more time to take a position or build your business, because you have 2 months in front of you or 6 months in front of you.
Yeah, you have freedom. I really believe that the most important thing is you have freedom of choice when you have a better hold on your money, and you're not just beholden to everybody else has their hand in your pocket. taken your money, you know, and sometimes you've given them permission to do that, right? But when you start saying, no, not anymore, and this is, you know, I can do this, but I need a plan. That's what I love, is when I'm like, I see people that have the ability, they just didn't know how to do it, and maybe no accountability.
No accountability. I think it's one of the big factors. Having someone to help you to put a plan,
right,
is important. Someone who can tell you, okay, this is the little change you need to make every week, or this is the communication you need to have with your spouse, or this is where you need to say no or taking action. Penny, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Get hold of you. I think we have on the post your email, your phone number. Do you have a website? Or?
I do. Penny, www.pennywisecoaching.com.
Okay.
And I have a Facebook page under Pennywise Coaching that if people would come like my Facebook page, I usually just try to share tips and helpful thing and some videos. And you can join my e-newsletter from my website as well if you're interested in getting that a couple times a month. And I would love to offer your people an opportunity to speak to me for free for 45 minutes to kind of find out more or get to know each other and see if there's anything that might be helpful for them. So I will offer that.
If they want a free consultation, do you have like a link, or they just contact you directly?
On my page, they contact me, and then I'll send them my calendar link so we can find a time. And I work with people all around the country, even though I'm in Colorado. Obviously, with the technology that we have today, most of my coaching now is virtual. So, which I love.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Penny, I just love your energy. I just love your personality. Thank you so much for joining us today. We added your contact, your phone number, and your website into the post so everyone can reach out to you. Thank you, everyone, for joining today, and
thanks.
we'll talk to you next week.